Hello there, my name is Gareth Fletcher. I am the Program Director for the MA in Art Logistics at Sotheby's Institute of Art, and I'll be speaking to you today on the topic of intellectual property within the creative economy. So what we will be doing first of all is considering how we define your role, the role of the artist, and then we'll be moving into some of the protections that come coupled with this professional profile. So is there a formal definition of the artist in the broader creative economy? Well, the answer technically is no. An artist is anyone who self-identifies as a creative practitioner, professionally or otherwise. So what is intellectual property? The first type of intellectual property protection is copyright. But the question really we have to be asking ourselves is, how does copyright actually define art? And there are a range of different definitions here. The first definition is defining a graphic work. Now, a graphic work does not require artistic merit and must be on a fixed surface. There is no qualitative judgment over the quality of the work, but it must be fixed on a surface in order to be considered a graphic work. Interestingly, however, a work of artistic craftsmanship does have to have some artistic merit and only applies to the items which are made by hand or individually, so not to mass-produced objects or identical objects, etc. So there is a kind of a distinction there. And finally, the third definition is a work of architecture, which is a building or a model of a building. Okay, so with those definitions to one side, what can actually be protected? Well, copyright protection encompasses a range of different creative outputs. So copyright protection actually encompasses literary and reference works, newspaper articles, computer programs, databases, films, musical compositions, choreography, and of course artistic works, which includes paintings, drawings, photographs, sculpture, architecture, advertisements, maps, and technical drawings. The question we have to now ask ourselves is, knowing what it does cover, what protection does it actually provide? Okay, so copyright protection only extends to the artistic expressions, okay, so the actual creative artistic expression, and not to ideas or procedures, okay? So ideas are not protected. It does not protect methods of operation or mathematical concepts, and forms the legal basis for the licensing of images. It is an automatic right, and it lasts the full lifetime of the author or the maker of the work or the art, and for 70 years after their passing. Considering this now, what rights does this protection actually designate? Well, it designates the economic rights to derive financial reward from the use of your work by others, and also moral rights to protect the non-economic aspects or the interests of the author. Now, the moral rights I think are very interesting to consider. So what specifically are the moral rights? Well, there are sort of three general moral rights. The first is the right to be acknowledged as the artist of a public work. The second right is the right to object to derogatory treatment of the work. Finally, the third right is the right to prevent false attribution or authorship. So that can often be in the case of forgeries or fakes. Additionally, on top of this, design rights, they give the holder the exclusive right to make a design, which allows them to take action against someone who infringes the design, regardless of whether or not it has been copied. A second protection is very important for us to consider is trademarking. And this is effectively the artist in a certain way as a brand, distinguishing their goods or services from the goods and services of other businesses. Additionally, another intellectual property right is the right for patents to be applied for, and this is something which is quite interesting in the construction of the actual materials that artists can often use. So for instance, there is an organisation in the UK called Surrey Nanosystems who actually own the patent for a product called Vantablack. It is a product that has been used by a particular artist by the name of Anish Kapoor, and Surrey Nanosystems would have the right to exclude all other artists except Anish Kapoor from using it. So now if we move to the 21st century, today, okay, we have to really consider why this is actually important. now for you. And if we think about the hyper-digitization that a lot of creative practitioners are being forced to accept and adopt, I think we have to be considering what are some of the challenges and opportunities facing you as a creative practitioner. Perhaps the first and most important challenge is thinking about how you reach a broad audience. And one of the most successful ways of doing that is by creating your Instagram profile. You, as the visual artist, retain the rights to the object or the work that you have created, but the image that you upload, they reserve the right to use that image in a variety of different ways. Should you upload an image of a work that you've created today, and should you, hopefully, in 10 years' time, be exceptionally successful as an artist, that image of that work can be used, can be stored, can be distributed by Instagram to the degree in which you have accepted their terms of business. If you are represented by a primary market dealer, there is a reason that they may not want the image of that work that you created 10 years prior to be splashed around the internet. Finally, we couldn't talk about digitization and the cultural sphere without mentioning NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. The question really is, are NFTs formally considered works of art? And as yet, that has not officially been adjudicated. In the UK, the tax office, the HMRC, they have current anti-money laundering guidelines, and NFTs do not fall within scope of works of art for this regulation. The other question to think about is the copyright implications of NFTs. So what is it that you as an artist actually tangibly own when you mint the NFT? And if you trade the NFT, what does the collector actually own, the person that purchases it? Do they own just the token and not the physical work? Or is it a case-by-case discussion? And finally, considering the economic challenges that might be coupled with NFTs or non-fungible tokens, for instance, you might consider there could be a failure of a server on which the underlying digital file or digital asset is located. What does that then do to the NFT? What does that do to the digital piece of culture? All of these aspects are being discussed as we become more familiar with this new realm of cultural production. So I hope that has given you a sort of a sense of some of the opportunities, some of the challenges, and some of the potential risks that might be associated with you as artistic creators and practitioners, and the intellectual property that you have the ability to assert as you go forward in the development of your professional careers.